Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a couple of emails to go through, so we'll do that. It's been a long, busy week behind the scenes and in trading. So we've got non-farm payrolls tonight, so I might call it an early one once we get through it. So we'll start off with this. Where the gentleman says, I've come across a possible head and shoulder pattern trading opportunity in the Aussie yen weekly chart. Okay. The price has broken through the neckline and the resistance level soft around 92, retesting at this point. However, the RSI is well overdone and there's a strong support around 88. Appreciate your opinion. Well, to start with, mate, the head and shoulder patterns are a trend reversal pattern, okay? And I don't really see a clear trend here. Yes, it's up because the 50 is still managing to hold above the 200, but it's not a real clear trend. The classic head and shoulder pattern that you'd normally see and normally look for is, I can give you the Aussie as this pair as an example, is this. There's your left shoulder. There's your left shoulder. Drag you out to the end, I think. Come here. There's left shoulder, head, yeah, right shoulder. And the necklines, you're supposed to link the neckline. So there you've got, so that's your neckline effectively there, or you could have it as a flat one, being the first low after the previous low. Yeah. And if we have that on there, just to make this a little thicker. If we have that on there, we can see this is the retest, right? And that's where you can technically you can short there on the break, and you also look to short here. So that's the head and shoulder pattern, and we can see that there was a clear trend up into it. Yeah, so there's your trend up into that head and shoulder pattern. Okay, what you're looking at doesn't look like that. There's no clear trend up into it. The other thing I note is that whilst this looks like a left shoulder head, the right shoulder hasn't formed yet. This is, I don't believe, much of a shoulder. If that is the shoulder, then your neckline should be from this low to that low. If it isn't the shoulder, if this is, then we haven't formed the head and shoulder pattern just yet. If you're saying this is your head and that's your right shoulder, which I don't know. Oh, shit. No sound. Sorry, guys. It's been a long week. Right, going back. Head and shoulder pattern, right, is a trend reversal. So you need a trend to come into it. There's your classic head and shoulder pattern. You get short here on the break, or you short here on the retest. Okay, and the neckline is generally from the first low to the second low, but you could argue that's the lowest point, so that's your neckline there. All right. So coming back to yours, there's no clear trend into this. I don't see any clear trend. I struggle to see the head and shoulder pattern. If this is your left shoulder, and that's your head, there's no right shoulder. If this is your head and this is your left shoulder and that's your right shoulder, well, then that's not the head and shoulder pattern, because the right shoulder should be lower than the head. So I don't see the head and shoulder pattern. It could be forming, and therefore this is the low point where this is your neckline. From this low to this low is your neckline. All right, that could be forming. It's a little hard to tell just yet. All right, but your neckline, if your argument that's your right shoulder, then this is your neckline. If you're saying, well, this right shoulder hasn't formed yet, well, then that's your neckline, and we're still being patient. But as I said, the biggest point is that you need a good trend into it, because a head and shoulder pattern is a trend reversal pattern, And quite literally, yes, the 50 is above the 200. There is a slight trend there, but it's not really something that I'd be looking at as a head and shoulder pattern. So it hasn't really quite formed yet. It may form, and this long protagonized or long friggin' trend, slow trend, um, forms a right shoulder, and then you can look to short it. But at this stage, no. Coming to your email where you say, where you say the RSI is overdone. Quite literally, I was looked at this morning and thought there might be a phase 2 opportunity or a potential range trade opportunity because I'm seeing divergence. It's minor, but it's there. Yeah, so you got a low here of 17 and a higher low of something of 20 or 19. So there's minor divergence there. No sign of buying yet, and I'd like to see it close above this low here, but there's a potential trade there as a trend reversal or range reversal. Right? Is a head and shoulder effective at the top of a trend? Yep. And an inverse head and shoulders at the effective at the bottom of the trend. So it's a trend reversal strategy. Okay. I mean, you could argue here's a head and shoulder, right? So there's a head. This is like you might find these head and shoulder patterns at the end of a phase 1, such as here. There's a strong trend going up there. Here's your trend. We can see that trend, and we then get a neckline across here to here, sort of thing. It doesn't come back and retest it, but it breaks. That is the head and shoulder pattern, and it's at the end of a trend, a minor trend to be sure, but it's the end of a trend. So, mate, does that I know you're online. Does that sort of answer your question there? Bit of resistance here. The market's trying to struggle to get through, so that's why I'd like to see it close above that, which it hasn't really done since it fell through it. If it can close above that in today's bar, there may be a phase 2 trade on for Monday. You guys online would have missed what I said is that I've got a few emails. It's been a long week behind the scenes setting up stuff and getting this migration across. So I'm just going to go through these emails and excuse me and call it quits. Some of you are in the euro. I noticed a whole bunch of you got short the euro pound based on the last webinar. Yeah, that's great. I think it's good when you guys do that. But you should have, being a 4-hour trade, you should be out of it by now. Shit. So this is the 4-hour trade that I'm talking about. So let's just blow it up a bit. Entered the trade here. We can see the trailing stop was there. Target was a bit further lower down underneath this low here. Target was based on an extension level. Yeah, so let's go and see where the target was. There's the target halfway between the 1.618 and the 2 on the extension. Obviously hasn't got there. So here we had a minor reversal bar, but it was this reversal bar that I've trailed my stop behind. Yeah, so out of the trade, I think it's 2 times the risk. So, yeah. Are we getting divergence now? Well, there's a bit of flat divergence there. It's Class C. Do I still want this trade? Yeah, I'll continue to look at it and look for opportunities in it, perhaps on the 1 hour, because the daily is still more downside to come. Yeah. So yes, I do like that. Whereas the pound Aussie daily is way overdone, and we're now showing divergence. We're up here, we're getting almost a double top, triple top type thing, and there's clear divergence from this high to this high. There's your divergence, okay? This high here, it's there. We've got a higher highs, and momentum is dying out. So in that instance, I'm not prepared to trade the pound Aussie anymore, and potentially even look at it as a reversal trade, trend reversal. Okay. Last webinar I was looking at the 1 hour as an entry. Where was that? That was in here. In there, and I went into that one. Yes, I got stopped out because I had my stop here underneath that. Had I had it under here, would have under this one would have survived. Yeah. But what was your risk reward on that? You're looking at sort of 150 pips, and you've only made 150 pips, so 1 times your risk. Whereas this one, out, and you could have looked to get back in. I didn't, but you could have easily, even across here. Excuse me. Now would I look at it? No, because we've got that divergence showing. Okay. How do you set a trailing stop in MetaTrader? You have to do it manually. Right out. So if you create a trade, this is a demo account, so I don't give a shit. Aussie dollar. If we come in and we sell it, yep. Trailing stop. Yeah, I don't like that. All right. But what if you double click on that line, you get the order. Right. So we put a stop in, put a target in, and now we have the trade on. To manually manage that, you can drag and drop it. When you get a reversal bar, you can drag and drop this. Put it up there, so it's above that swing high, and you might move your target down here. Yeah, you can drag and drop as a trailing stop once the bar is completed. Once you know when the bar, this is a 4-hour trade, 4-hour bar. So when the 4-hour bar finishes, you can trail your stop, or you can go into here and double click on this and manage the stop that way by changing that. I don't like using the trailing stop. I don't like using this. First thing on this though, if you this is points, so that's 2 pips. 20 points is 2 pips. So if you want a 100 pip stop, then it's 1,000 points. Okay, and it's trailing at 100 pips below. That's a dynamic stop, and I don't like it. So I prefer you to manage the trade, rather than just relying on a computer. So a trailing stop is manually adjusted at the end of the bar's existence when you know what's going on. Okay, Aussie yen, that's done. Pound. Let's go to the first one. Pound. It's strong, man, and it's going to continue. Might have a little pullback now, into this area here. 152 or something like that, maybe. What's that across there? I expect this pound to be going to here to 155, perhaps even to sort of up here. That's what I expect the pound. Maybe not against the US dollar, but I see continued strength in the pound. Yeah, if I get a cycle above here, and that's what I'll be looking at. Anyway, that's just me personally. So this setup here, we've got the pound spending a lot of time. This is going back into the 81. How far back that is. Crikey. I remember the 80s. $2, clear resistance. $1.40, clear support. You've even got support here at 48. Yeah, and we've got mighty close there, 150, 149 something the other day. It was like 149.50. Big support. Massive trend down. Yeah, but so was this one. Yeah. Been nice to see a fib on this actually. Wonder if this one will do that. If that'll go that far back. Yep. So this move from that high to that low. I see it back up there. Okay. Spends a lot of time between 148 and 172. If you see, apart from obviously, if we look at, apart from this in the noughties, back here in the 90s, it spent most time between $1.70 and $1.48. Range trade it back to $1.70. Why the hell not? What are you suggesting? Get short. Yeah. Okay. Observations. Looking at the weekly chart, you'd say it's in a range between 48 and 72. Yeah, I agree with you. Looks like it is currently bearish on its way down to maybe 148. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it is. The US dollar is very strong. I know you're bullish the pound, but you're also bullish the US dollar. Which is more bullish at the moment? Well, you'd have to go with the US. You would, yeah. You'd have to go with the US. Looking at the daily chart, is it made a high test bar off a trend line? Was it a high test bar, was it? Oh, that one there. Yep. High test bar off the daily trend line and 20 EMA. If it today forms a lower high, then it is good setup score 10. Okay. There's sufficient space between current price and the next support at 150. Well, 148. If you can get through 150, it'll definitely go to 148. That's there's no brainer there. All right, but it spent a lot of time hanging on to 150, and let me just put that on there. Held above it, flirted with it a couple of times before taking off. So 150, if it can get through it, then yeah, sure, 148. Don't know if that's going to happen. The US dollar is still strong. It's a bit of an iffy one, isn't it? Well, for me, it's iffy. Obviously, yesterday ruined your party with the Bank of England coming out and not doing anything with interest rates, and even suggesting that they should be raising them still. But the timeline's now 2016, I notice, for them to be raising rates. Next week's inflation report is key. Certainly something I'll be watching and monitoring closely. However, we've now cycled back to the 50 EMA. Yep. And back to, if you want that trend line, or if you want to change that to that one there, that trend line. Yep. So we've certainly got trend line resistance. Is there horizontal resistance around 53? Not really. Just come back and fill that gap in finally. Let's say from the last time it was on that trend line to there, we're back to the 50 fib as well. So getting short, yeah, I can understand. There's certainly the bearish sentiment is clear to see, and we should be sort of going with that. Big support around 150, and if it gets through that, then you're looking at 148. Right now, though, we need to see selling sentiment, and there's nothing's there. There was a high test bar, but still no selling sentiment at this stage. So I like the technical analysis. The US dollar is strong. I am bullish the pound, but I'm trying to trade it against other pairs such as the pound Aussie rather than the US, because I think the US is the stronger one. Is it going to dive to 148? No, because they're competing strength. I see a lot of sort of rubbish like this. Yeah, unless things happen like they do raise rates before the US, or the US raise rates before them, you're going to continue to see a lot of chop and froth. Okay. Another one looking at the pound. This one, what's this? 150204. Okay, I'm putting together. Could you give me some feedbacks? It looks as though as the pound is getting close, and I've attached a picture with some analysis, but I've not formed an argument for taking this trade yet. Okay, pound is ranging, but halfway through phase two. Yeah, fair enough. At that point in time, you could say that it was in a pretty tight range, probably tighter than what this purple box is. Basically 152 to 150, 200 pip range is clearly broken out of that now though. There was divergence, that's well spotted. Getting a Fibonacci there though was hard to achieve. What's this? From cycle to cycle, don't really look at cycle to cycle on the across on the lows in a downtrend. You look at the highs on the cycle to cycle in a downtrend. So yeah, mate. Yen, leave it alone. Swiss, leave it alone. Euro mid phase two. When did you send this to me? On Wednesday. Euro, yeah, it's trying to do a phase two. He's still trying to do a phase two. It's, you know, you wouldn't own this if you wanted them. Even if you lived there, you wouldn't own euros. I don't think the ECB wants their euros. And then mine is Kiwis mid phase two. Kiwis mid phase two. Is it? The Kiwis mid phase two. Yeah. Is mid phase two. You know, if you're not trading the phase two, you could look at trading the phase one here or the phase one there. Yeah. Kiwi mid phase two, CAD early phase two. Yes, clearly CAD's in phase two. Oil is sort of holding up, not really going anywhere. Can't break through that resistance in oil. Let me show you that. That resistance line I drew the other day, you remember that? This low here, rolled over. So oil is potentially more weakness, which may make this CAD trade short-lived, and that's why you don't want to trade against the trend for too long. If oil starts to fall again, then this will rally because the loony's getting weaker. Yeah, so trading this phase two would comes with a whole bunch of worry. Singapore phase two, Dosing phase two. Yep, in phase two, might find support around here or off this high for us to trade. If it's off this high, and as long as it's not below that low, you know, i.e. you're still making higher lows, then you know you could look at that to go long again with the trend. But at the moment it's phase two, SEC extended phase one. Yeah. Yep. Phase two. It's going sideways. That's phase two. DKK. Do not know. Danish krona. We're way overdone. I don't know if there's divergence there yet. A little bit of divergence. More selling, and you might be able to trade that. Certainly risk reward ratio would be good. And another seller's bar. There might be a Tuesday trade, because you need another bar of it being a lower high, lower low. You also need to get your extensions in there. NOK is ranging. I'd like to buy dollar NOK if I could. I think oil's got further to fall. Waiting on NOK to see some more buying. Tried to get some buying yesterday, 2 days ago, and then it failed. So I need to see a bit more buying, and then I'll be looking to get long that one. At the end. Is it ranging? Well, yeah, you could say that. I prefer to say, well, it's not ranging, it's just motoring, because the bigger resistance is up here. Oil price, yeah. US dollar strength, oil weakness. This thing's going to continue to go. Aussie dollar extended phase 1, early phase 2. Aussie, I would say it's trying to work out what the hell it's doing. Uh, get an interest rate cut and price hasn't moved. Bet you Glenn Stevens is pissed off about that. Divergence. We've got divergence. 212. No, we don't. Yeah, this is an inverse head and shoulders on momentum. What the hell is that telling us? Don't know. I'd like to be short it. I prefer to be short it from this double bottom here, or the 80 cent mark, somewhere there. That's where I'll be looking to get short. I don't know if it's going to get short just yet. All the other US dollar pairs seem to be showing US weakness. So that horizontal, the 618, is where I'll be looking to get short. Let's keep a little box there, in there somewhere. Price gets up there, you got the 50 EMA coming in as well. Cool. Last email is from this Pound Aussie. Yeah. Says, I can't seem to get ahead. I've been watching this through the last few weeks. Made money on it. Lost money on another trade on it. And then watched it go in the last few days. But waited until yesterday's announcement was over. I got in this morning. Probably many people did. But it's turned on me again. But to get in or stay out. Well, you would have got taken out, I think, on that very bar. And it was unfortunate. Would have it hit your target? I don't think it would have, because it hasn't been that high. I think it's gone through 90, 96, 90, which is where your level is. Where's your level? 96, 94. I don't think it's been that high at all. It certainly hasn't. There's 65, so it wouldn't have even hit your target yet. But you say, yes, you got taken out, as I did with this sell-off here. It was unfortunate. If we had our stop under there, your risk-reward ratio would be not very good. And when you're trading on the hourly, you should minimise your risk in terms of what's your lot size. So, in your notes here, you might say 0.1 is $100. Risk is that's a reasonably low amount of risk for a trade. A 0.5% is a quarter, so it's 250. Sorry, 0.5% is $250. So if you're risking $100, then that's okay. That's good capital risk management, which is your first job. Yep. Talking to a mate the other day, and he said, he's had a reasonable month. Didn't he sort of did okay on the Aussie interest rate announcement? But he made the point that he spends 75% of his time sitting on his hands. This guy's makes a fortune, but he spends 75% of his time sitting on his hands. Patience is the virtue, right? And his job, he said, my job is not to trade. He's not there to make the prop, and he trades for prop as well, but not in FX. His job is not to make the prop house money. His job is to make money for him, and then split the proceeds with the prop house. What I mean by his job is not to make money by trading is that the commission from the trades is not the major source of income for prop houses. Some prop houses want you to do that, but that's not a decent prop house. Okay, so his job is not to trade. His job is to make money. Your job is not to trade. Your job is to make money. Okay, and sometimes it takes patience to wait for those ideal setups. And if you see something like this that I pointed out the other day, and I traded it on the alley, it's not a huge quality trade, and so you wouldn't be risking 1% on it. Yeah. I don't don't know about you guys, but it's the end of the first week of the month, and we're already up 3.5%. So there's possible out there, there's trades there, 3.5% for the month. I'm thinking of I'll take the rest of the month off, potentially, but it certainly means that I can be more selective in my trades going forward for the next 3 weeks of this month. So your job is not to trade, your job is to make money and find the best opportunities, okay? And a lot of times that means sitting there for days on end not finding anything. So just be patient. That's a virtue you got to learn. Alright guys, I'm knackered. As I said, it has been a long week. I appreciate your time. Those guys, you should all have your accounts now. Those new guys, still working on the current crop who are with AxiTrader and getting them into this, which is Capital Index. That's still sort of developing, so I'll let you know as we go, but hopefully have you across in a couple of weeks' time. You guys have a great weekend. Hope I answered all your questions. Certainly got through all the emails. And next week, what's on next week? You got non-farm payrolls tonight, so be careful of that. Next week, I don't know I haven't even looked. Wouldn't be much. But we've got a webinar on Monday morning, so I'll talk to you guys then. Okay. No worries, Sally. Pleasure. Hope you make how many Ks are you doing? 50 odd Ks around Sydney. There's some steep hills around Sydney, man. Good luck to you. I hope you make it. I know you will. 56, 55 kilometres. Nothing. You'll do it on your head. Easy. No worries. Enjoy. Thanks, guys. You have a lovely weekend, and I'll talk to you Monday morning. Cheers.